Today I'm in the Los Angeles suburb of Hancock Park, and I'm talking to actor or actress, or however you say it these days, Joanna Cassidy. Thank you very much for taking time to talk to us.
It's my pleasure. As you know, I just got back from Australia, and I'm missing it very much, so it's good to know I'm still connected.
Tell us a little bit about your trip. You went there to do a movie for a production company that's an institution back in Melbourne and Australia, Crawford's Productions. Just tell us a little bit about what you were doing for them.
Well, first of all, I'll tell you that I was in Dallas at the time when the job came through. I was doing a show with Richard Crenna and Craig T. Nelson. And I got this call that said to me, my agent said, listen, they want you to do this film in Australia, but you have to be there the day after you finish shooting. And I said, good, take the job and tell them they've got to give me a day home, 24 hours. So that they did. I managed to fly home, change wardrobe, because it was summer in Australia. Took out my woolies and put in my bikini and flew off to Australia to do Tribe.
It was a very long plane trip, as we Australians are used to, but was that your longest plane trip there, Joanna?
Actually not, no, because I did a longer trip when I did Asia a few years ago, and that was in the 20s. Well, this between flying to Sydney and then to Cairns and then up to Mission Beach, it ended up being close to 20-some hours, I guess. Yeah.
After that long plane trip, that they got you straight into the work?
That I did. I put on costume and was out there. So I'm in the film. But I'm not sure how present I was. Let's hope I was, though. I managed to get there. But it was terrific shooting in Australia, because we were up in Mission Beach and we went to some of the most magnificent beaches. We were on Dunk Island for a week. Then we would motor over to Badara Beach and film there for the day, and then come back to Dunk Island and spend the evenings there. It was just extraordinary. And I'll tell you a little bit about the piece. My husband and I, who happens to be also a Greek person, the Theo Penglis, own this gorgeous yacht. And what we do is we take several couples out at the time and take them on long weekends or this sort of thing. So we have about 4 couples on board, and we're out, we're enjoying the day, we're having cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, and we spend the night, and the next day, my husband's and first mate, who is played by Antonio Sabato Jr., they see a trawler that appears to be deserted, and we go on board, and in fact, some modern-day pirates had killed a Vietnamese family, and the one remaining passenger was a young girl. So we take her on board our yacht, and of course what happens is that the pirates find us, they blow up the boat, we are literally in the water hoping to survive. Some of us don't. I lose a son, and in the first half an hour I lose my husband, Theo. And then you really see us going through the next year surviving. And of course the pirates come back. They know that we're on the island. They also have found out that one of the passengers has discovered gold on the island. Of course, they come to get it. Some very interesting things ensue. It was a fabulous picture to do, because I'm never happier than when I'm outside. And my least favorite place is in a studio. Of course, we had to spend time in the studio too, but at the same time, I got to be out there and with all these fabulous Australian actors, and it was just great.
I believe the sound stages were in Melbourne, and you got a bit of a chance to see Melbourne.
I did love Melbourne. Absolutely loved it. I stayed in South Yarra, and so I got to see your beautiful Chapel Street, and just driving all around there, and the parks, and well, I guess where I was staying was right near, you have the Royal Arboretum there as well, which is a phenomenal place, because you can walk the paths and then see all this incredible lush greenery, and then right beyond is your beautiful city. And the city was great too. Great shopping, great gymnasiums, the food was divine. I was in heaven there.
Well,
get any better than that?
Well, now you're back to Los Angeles and the real world. What I'd like to do now is I'd like a little brief overview of your career. Now, you were born in New Jersey, so tell me, how did you get to Los Angeles, and was it always your intention to become an actress, or how did things start for you, Joanna?
Well, briefly, no, I never wanted to be an actress. That was not in my mind. I was really basically a scientist and an artist. I studied fine art, sculpting and painting at Syracuse University, where I met my husband-to-be. We got married and then drove to California. So I was with him while he went through his internship, residency, and all that.
So he got posted to California, but...
Yeah. And I loved California, but I was really out of my element and away from my family, and I suddenly became a wife, which I was for a few years, and then I decided to take up modeling, so I had a short career at that, and then when we went our separate ways, I moved to Southern California. That was San Francisco, by the way. And then I was doing a modeling job, and someone told me about a movie, and I said, well, how do you get on a movie like that? And they said, well, you have to go through casting. And I said, okay, great. What's the number? And so I called up the casting person. Pretty nervy, huh? Yeah. So I did, and I got the job.
And wow, you hear of actors struggling and trying to get jobs, and you didn't really want to be an actress, and you just get a job.
Well, I'm making it very simple. It wasn't quite that easy because I had gone around, with my 8x10s and, without an agent. You really do sort of make the rounds. It's an interesting, struggle or challenge, but I think that in truth my tenaciousness really, really got me the job, and jobs following.
What was that initial film?
That was a film called The Laughing Policeman with Bruce Dern and Walter Matthau.
I have on your bio a couple of films that I don't know if these are correct, but Bullet and Fools. Did you make little appearances?
I did make appearances in them, but not really, scenes per se. In Fools, I had a small scene with Jason Robards, but I don't consider it a scene unless you have more than 3 lines. And I know that's not true now because there can be great scenes where you don't say a thing. But I really sort of feel that The Laughing Policeman was my first movie.
So what happened then? Did you enjoy it so much that you decided to pursue it?
Well, to be very honest with you, I never enjoyed it. I think acting is extraordinarily, unless you really understand what you're doing, and unless you can put it somewhere in your mind where it's not such a serious thing, which I always did, I was scared to death. And it took me many years to have an element of understanding and exchange and not take all the pressure on my shoulders and not feel like it's all my responsibility. I see young actors now who start out. I worked with Uma Thurman on one of her first films, and Uma at 19 was like I was well into my 30s. She was so comfortable, but she had a very cosmopolitan upbringing, and so on. I was really a country girl. I didn't know from standing on a mark at all. So, when you go from butterflies to a soundstage, it was inconceivable to me how that all took place, and I was quite uncomfortable with it for many years. But now I'm fine, and I love it, and do my thing, and enjoy myself.
Did you take any lessons, or did you have any training or anything like that while you were establishing a career?
Well, I didn't in the beginning, and then, yes, I did start to take acting lessons from various coaches. And I have done through the years. I think it's really important to find out, new things and expose yourself again. Because like anything, you can get into a routine, start doing the same performance, and I certainly don't want to do that. So, I'll rough it. I'll take chances and get myself out there, get myself vulnerable again. It's really important to stay open.
I just want to mention, you did some great films in the 70s, such as The Outfit, which had a fantastic cast, Robert Duvall and Karen Black. And you did a film called Bank Shot, which I haven't seen, but I have seen The Hot Rock, which was apparently a sequel to The Hot Rock. Would that have been your first lead performance?
Yeah, basically that was. I was starring opposite George C. Scott. That was also directed by a very famous Broadway director, Gower Champion. And that was such a lark. That film was just, I just had the best time. I guess George wanted me because I reminded him a little bit of Colleen Dewhurst, his wife at the time, because I never met the lady, but apparently she had a raucous laugh and she was a redhead. So I got that role, and that was just fantastic. What a great experience. It was like doing a beautiful dance all the way through it. And an adorable little film.
Was it an easy step from support to leading lady?
As I say, earlier in my career, it was so terrifying to me that it was not easy, and And of course, at the time, they were comparing me to Marilyn Monroe and Jean Peters and, all these phenomenal movie stars. And all I could think, the mind is a very powerful tyrant. And I always came from two schools of thought. One was that if you said you were something and declared it, you were that. My other school of thought was this upbringing that I had, which was very small town and Victorian in a way, which never led me to believe that I could get that big in the world. And acting is, you are in a very big arena doing that kind of thing. So I had these two opposing forces in my mind, and so I really had, as I say, it took me a long time to get them together.
But you did.
To make them be friends, right.
After that, you did a lot of wonderful films like Stay Hungry, Bob Rafelson with Jeff Bridges and Sally Field, and it would have been a very early role for little Arnie Schwarzenegger.
That's correct. Little Arnie wasn't so little. That was his first real role, and he was terrific in it. Very comfortable. Yep, he was great.
Very confident person, I assume.
Oh, he's extremely confident. Yes, Arnold does a wonderful thing. He allows himself to make mistakes, and he really, you can see by his whole attitude that it's really okay to do that.
I just want to skip over to the early 80s where you made a couple of classics. Firstly, Blade Runner, where you played Zhora, a replicant, and you had a fantastic costume in that too. And you're a bit of a little nasty person there. Tell us a bit about that, because the sets were one thing that the film known is especially for, was the fantastic sets. So could you act your way through the sets? I mean, it looked crowded, especially in the scene where you're being chased by Harrison Ford. So tell us a little bit about that film. And
first of all, that was the New York set over here, Warner Brothers, and yes, there were hundreds of extras on the set. It was the most exciting feeling I've ever had. We did take after take. It was all night long. The tension was very high because we were, it was the end of the film, and they were running out of money. It was the first film that ever went so high with a budget. This Blade Runner was definitely a front runner in that sense. It was just extremely exciting. And, it's interesting. You see, if you read the book, and when you do, it's the replicants were, I wanted to put more heart into my character because really they were only programmed that way. But as you watched the other replicants, you could see that they had feelings. The thing that Ridley and I talked about was making the character of Zhora very poignant, because it doesn't matter if you're a machine or not, he still shot me in the back, which is a coward's way out, which did not make Harrison appear to be very sensitive. But I always think that with, I don't know, whenever I see the film replay, of course the music always helps too, but I see that character as being very sympathetic.
And have you seen the director's cut?
Oh, yes, I've seen it, but I'm going to go again. I want to see it over here. Yeah, that's pretty exciting that it's in the Dome.
And, well, one thing that doesn't get as much notice in the film is the costumes, and the costumes were fabulous costumes.
Yes, and I still have my costume, which...
And she's wearing it right now.
Yes, it's a little leather number with a strap-on bra.
That was a plastic
coat. I still have the costume, and it was great. Charles Node designed it. At first I was supposed to wear some kind of a heel, but of course since I did all the stunts and jumping on the cars and knocking everybody down, I told Ridley, I said, no way. I said, I've got to have sneakers or running shoes. But what's interesting about that film is that there was a scene that was never shot, which you were going to see. We rehearsed and choreographed the scene of Zhora doing the dance with the snake. I was going to come out of a sand dune. As I say, I didn't come on till the end of the film, so they were already running out of money, and this was a very hugely budgeted film, but that would have been extraordinarily interesting to see that dance. Would have been a one of a kind.
So is that why they had to delete it? For money reasons?
Yeah, basically they just told him to put a halt on the film. He had to end it up, and I saw a cut at 3.5 hours, and that was, there were things in there you can't even imagine. Wonderful scenes.
And did Ridley Scott, before you started, did he make you guys read the book first, or he wanted you to not read the book and not be influenced? How did he approach it?
Well, I had read the book, actually, earlier. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if anyone else did, but I reread it. I thought it would be good to know, and kind of the same, but not really. And, of course, the script was rewritten so many times. The replicants changed form a lot.
I just want to get into another fantastic film, Under Fire, directed by Roger Spottiswoode, who I actually bumped into the other day at a place called Rainmaker, I think, a special effects house. But tell us a bit about Under Fire.
Under Fire was shot in Oaxaca, Mexico. Couldn't go to Nicaragua. It would have been just not really feasible. That was an amazing film to do. And of course, subsequently I worked with Gene Hackman again in The Package. We became great mates. I love Gene. But that was extraordinarily... we had an interesting time in Mexico. It was like being in Nicaragua because we weren't getting along with the Mexican government too well, because we tried to do the best we could within the city, but of course, filming can tie things up at times, and that we did. But Oaxaca is about 4,500 feet up in the air. It's in the mountains and very interesting. And then some of the scenes we went down towards the tip of the peninsula in an area called Tuxtla Gutierrez. But making the movie was a very intense experience. Yeah, I've never had anything like it.
I just want to get onto a little movie that I really enjoyed, and I think it would have been shot in the West Indies, Club Paradise. It was a real cute, fun movie. Where was that shot, Joanna? Because it sounds like one of the perks of being an actor is getting to go all these fabulous exotic locales and getting paid for it as well.
That's right. Does make life look a little grand, doesn't it? But that was in Jamaica.
Did you drink lots of rum?
Well, I'm sorry to say, yes, I did. I think I made a few trips up to the Blue Mountains to find the rum manufacturers, but yes, Jamaica has an air of madness about it anyway, and with all the actors there, of course, who were from SCTV, comedians up in Canada, they were just so amazing anyway, and with Peter O'Toole, that made it even more phenomenal.
Rum-wise.
Yeah. And so it was, again, that was a great experience.
Tell us a bit about Roger Rabbit. What's it like acting with cartoon characters?
Sometimes like acting with some people that I know, but, well, it's different.
So you basically had to act to...
nothingness, just to a space which would be somewhat rehearsed ahead of time, and then...
Was there a person there just to help interact and then he got deleted out, or how did it work?
No, they would put the rabbit in a plastic form in to just basically show us where it was going to be. They would have an eye line, and then they had the rabbit's voice. That could throw you sometimes because he would be way back behind the camera and you'd be looking in another space. So I certainly didn't get the worst of it. Bob Hoskins did. But, a special effects movie is always a much more different experience because you do a lot more takes because of the technical side of it than you would ordinarily do. And it is just that. It's far more technical acting.
That's all we have time for. You've done so many... I've got a list of 64, but there's probably more, and you've done a lot of TV movies as well. And not to mention Buffalo Bill as well, and a lot more other TV. And I've also got a couple of credits of Mission Impossible in the 60s show. Could that be true?
I saw that, and I saw that someone pulled up a bio, and I was shocked. I think I only remember doing one, and that was when I was modeling. I clearly have a picture of myself and Peter Graves, and I do remember that show. And again, it was one of those things I didn't have a line. I just was doing a modeling gig. I don't remember any more than that, though. So I may have done, and I've just forgotten.
Well, what do they say about the 60s? If you were there, you don't remember?
It's so true, isn't it?
Well, anyway, I want to thank you very much, Joanna Cassidy, and all the best to you.
Thank you.